Well, you should always take care of your car, but coming up in April, it's actually National Auto Care Month, right, Brian?
National Auto Care Month, absolutely.
Brian Bowersock is here, and great to have you here, the Auto Man.
Glad to be here.
Talking about taking care of your car. And you want to do it early on, right? Because you don't want to be facing a bunch of expensive things down the line because you didn't.
Absolutely. So you're right. We're talking about April's National Car Care Month. And the reason we're talking about that is preventative maintenance and service up front will save you a lot of money on expensive repairs later.
No doubt. Yeah.
And today we're kind of talking about, we have a bunch of things laid out here in items that you'll see on a car that there's a large percentage with problems. Like we were just talking a few minutes ago, 26% of vehicles are due for just a simple oil service. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that we always recommend, and AutoCare.org does also, which is a big organization that you can always check out on the web. They talk about car care tips and things like that. Is inspecting the vehicle by somebody qualified when you actually get those simple services. By doing so, they'll be able to tell you, hey, these things are coming up, and you should keep an eye on them, and replacing them or repairing them.
Do you think, is it wise to go to an oil change place, because they specialize in that, it's pretty quick, mm-hmm. or is it better to get the oil changed at the mechanic where you can say, you know what, while we're changing the oil, we can check out such and such?
Great question, Jim. So what we recommend is getting the vehicle serviced by a qualified technician. Although it takes longer in the process is a little more, you get a lot more out of it for sure. Most quality facilities will do about a 40-point inspection, especially AAA approved facilities. They inspect the brakes, the belts, the hoses, the fluids, and all that stuff. So as we were talking, oil change, simple oil change is 26%, but we see all kinds. 15% of vehicles need an air filter replaced. 52% of vehicles have a belt come
and
apart.
As we're talking about this, say you don't do that. What kind of problems result from not replacing the air filter?
That's a great question. So you get small tears in the filter. Particulate makes its way through. It can contaminate the mass airflow sensor, can cause wear and tear inside the engine. It's like sand going into a motor over time. Mm-hmm. So the repairs can get quite expensive at that point.
And then if you get that damage, forget about it.
Well, yeah, I mean, there is a point where a car has so many miles on it, if you get a very expensive repair, the car's not worth fixing.
Exactly.
So if you stay on top of maintenance, most cars these days, we say 200,000 is a new 100,000 miles. Mm-hmm. So we see people getting 300,000 miles out of a car. And if you do so and just do the regular maintenance, boy, you can sure drive your value out of something.
I meant to ask you, related to the oil change, they always put the sticker on the window that says, your next 3,000 miles or whatever. And I've heard debate, should it be 3,000 miles with the oils today? No, you can go much longer than that. What's your feeling on that?
That's a great question. So, and it depends on how many miles are on the car as to how often we want to get it looked at and how long the oil lasts. But the West Automotive Group has switched to all synthetic now, so we tend to run people at the earliest 4,000 all the way up to 7,000 miles, depending on the year of the car, how it's used, things like that. So that's a great thing to talk to a qualified technician about and figure out when your car should be serviced.
Okay, alrighty. And then the other belts down the line.
We were talking. You got timing belts that not replaced. About 17% of vehicles are due for a coolant hose, mm-hmm. and about 13% of vehicles running around have a check engine light on. Believe it or not, which, if not addressed, can run into, once again, extremely more expensive concerns.
Love it. So AutoCare.org.
AutoCare.org will give you tips on servicing your car.
Fantastic. I drive an older car. My car is 20 years old. And I heard this too. I've always driven a stick shift. Mm-hmm. And I was taught when I learned to drive to gear down, right, to slow down. And then I heard on an auto show, so thank you for what you do, that it's a lot easier to replace brake pads than it is to replace a transmission. So why put the
clutch? Correct.
Exactly.
Quite
and
more
I was
expensive.
like, it changed my driving attitude. I was like, I'm not going to gear down anymore. Take it easy on the clutch.
All the tips you hear and get off the internet aren't always the best tips. Talk to a qualified technician, and they'll give you great tips.
Exactly. Brian, thank you very much.
Always my pleasure. Thanks, Jim.
All righty, and let's send it over to Renee. Check on the